Naples claims Florida's richest lifestyle, with a median household income of $135,000 and estates reserved for the elite. Sarasota boasts nearly 500,000 residents and steady growth. But in 2025, something has changed. One city is quietly losing residents, the other is gaining momentum. What's pushing people out of paradise? And which market is truly worth your risk and your money? The real difference is hiding in the numbers. Naples sits at the top of Florida's income ladder, with median household earnings above $135,000, more than 50% higher than the state's average. Sarasota County, in contrast, posts a median household income closer to $80,000. That gap is not just a statistic, it shapes the entire character of each market. While Naples is defined by exclusive neighborhoods and the steady churn of high-net-worth buyers, Sarasota's economic profile is broader, supporting a mix of families, professionals, and retirees. The difference in income shapes the entire market. Population tells a similar story of scale and momentum. Sarasota County's projected 2025 population is about 481,000, growing at nearly 1% a year. Naples, by comparison, is a much smaller city, with around 20,000 residents in the core but over 410,000 in the wider Collier County region. Yet even with Naples' regional numbers, Sarasota's steady growth stands out. Nearly all of Sarasota's recent population gains come from people moving in, not just natural increase. That steady growth is notable. These baseline figures set the stage for everything that follows. The income gap means Naples can support ultra-luxury housing and premium services. But it also concentrates risk if that exclusive pool shrinks. Sarasota's larger, more diverse population creates a foundation for stable demand even as the market shifts. In both cities, the numbers behind the headlines reveal who is really moving in, who is being priced out, and which market has the underlying strength to weather the next round of economic surprises. Naples and Sarasota are not just two dots on Florida's Gulf Coast. They represent two distinct promises to anyone considering a move. Naples leans into its reputation as a sanctuary for the ultra-wealthy. Marketing highlights private golf courses, gated estates, and exclusive beach clubs. The city's brand is built on scarcity, limited access, high barriers to entry, and a tightly curated lifestyle where privacy and prestige come standard. Buyers are drawn by the idea of joining an elite enclave, where every detail, from concierge services to imported landscaping, signals status and security. Sarasota, on the other hand, pitches itself as Florida's cultural capital with a broader invitation. The city's appeal is not wrapped in velvet ropes, but in the promise of vibrant arts, family-friendly neighborhoods, and a sense of community that stretches beyond the winter season. Sarasota's messaging centers on access, public beaches, open-air festivals, and a housing market that welcomes not only retirees, but also families and professionals. The value proposition is about balance, enjoying the coastal lifestyle without the exclusivity tax. For buyers, the choice is as much about identity as it is about investment. Naples offers the cachet of belonging to a select club, but at a premium that can magnify risk if the luxury market cools. Sarasota's brand is built on inclusivity and resilience, attracting those who want culture and connection alongside their sunshine. Each city sells a different version of the Florida dream, and that underlying narrative shapes both who arrives and who ultimately decides to stay. Florida's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles keeps a running tally of every out-of-state license exchanged for a Florida one, and these numbers cut through the marketing. Sarasota County posted a net gain of 4,213 new residents from out-of-state licenses in the most recent 12-month period, with the majority arriving from New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. A growing share are under 55, drawn by remote work and Sarasota's expanding job market. These license exchanges are a leading indicator. They measure real, permanent moves, not just seasonal traffic. Naples, meanwhile, tells a different story. The region's net gain from license exchanges dropped by 11% year over year, a reversal from the steady growth that defined the previous decade. Local analysts point to a rise in out-of-state departures, particularly among residents aged 55 to 70. These are not just snowbirds heading north for the summer. They are sellers cashing out, often citing insurance spikes, HOA assessments, and a search for more affordable alternatives, sometimes in Sarasota itself. The contrast is clear in the data tables. Sarasota's inbound to outbound ratio stands at 3-to-1, with every quarter since 2020 showing a net positive. Naples, on the other hand, has seen its historical advantage narrow, with some quarters in late 2024 and early 2025 nearly flat. The numbers are granular, but the message is broad. Sarasota's momentum is measurable, while Naples is seeing the first signs of outflow, especially in its core retiree and luxury segments. These migration flows are more than statistics. They drive demand for housing, shape school enrollments, and determine which local businesses thrive. License exchange data provides a window into the real-time choices people are making about where to put down roots. For anyone tracking market resilience, these numbers reveal directional momentum you will not find in glossy brochures. March 2024. A retired couple closed the door on their Port Royal home for the last time. They had lived there for almost 2 decades, drawn in by the promise of privacy, world-class amenities, and the quiet prestige that Naples is famous for. But over the previous year, the numbers had started to add up in ways that no longer felt sustainable. Their annual homeowner's insurance bill had climbed by more than $5,000 since Hurricane Ian, topping $22,000. 2 separate homeowners association special assessments landed in the same 12-month span, each one a $6,000 check for infrastructure repairs and flood mitigation. Add in rising property taxes and the steady creep of maintenance costs, and the dream of effortless luxury began to feel more like an endless series of invoices. They were not alone. Conversations with neighbors at the club and over dinner circled back to the same concerns: costs outpacing fixed retirement incomes, uncertainty about future assessments, a sense that the market for high-end homes was starting to soften. The couple started looking north towards Sarasota, where friends reported lower insurance premiums, more predictable homeowners association fees, and a lively downtown that felt accessible without the price tag of exclusivity. The decision to sell was not made lightly. Their Port Royal address had always been a point of pride, and leaving meant saying goodbye to a chapter of their lives. But the sale closed quickly, helped along by a buyer eager for waterfront status, and the couple settled in Sarasota's Laurel Park neighborhood soon after. They traded a sprawling estate for a walkable bungalow, swapped private security gates for local art fairs and coffee shops, and found that the city's cultural calendar offered just as much to do, without the constant worry about the next big bill. For them, the move was not just about dollars and cents. It was about regaining a sense of control and choosing a community where the costs of living did not overshadow the joys of retirement. Naples and Sarasota may share the same Gulf breeze, but the gap in their housing markets is wide and growing. In early 2025, the median sale price for a home in Naples hit $1.27 million, more than double Sarasota County's $529,000. That price per square foot Gulf is just as stark, $834 per square foot in Naples, compared to $377 per square foot in Sarasota. For buyers, these numbers are not just theoretical. They set the tone for who can afford to enter and who gets left watching from the sidelines. But the story is not just about sticker shock. Inventory tells its own tale. Naples luxury listings have surged. Active inventory was up 17.8% year over year in the $1.5 million and above bracket. Sarasota's comparable segment climbed by only 3.9%. These figures come straight from the MLS and show a clear divergence in supply pressure. In Naples, homes at the top end are piling up, a sign that fresh demand is not keeping pace with the flood of new and relisted properties. Sarasota, meanwhile, is seeing a more measured increase, enough to give buyers options, but not so much that sellers are forced into deep discounts. The scale of these differences is more than a matter of prestige. When inventory jumps nearly 18% in a single year, as it has in Naples, the underlying message is that liquidity is thinning out. More homes are available, but fewer are moving at the pace or price sellers expected. Sarasota's slower inventory growth points to steadier absorption, with median prices holding firm and the market still broad enough to attract a range of buyers. For anyone tracking the long-term value of a Florida home, these numbers matter. $1 million spread in median price, a doubling of price per square foot, and a sharp contrast in inventory growth create two very different risk profiles. Naples still commands a premium, but the swelling supply hints at vulnerability. Sarasota's value proposition looks less volatile, with a price point and inventory level that suggests stability rather than speculation. Listings in Naples' luxury brackets are starting to linger, and the numbers show just how much the market pace has changed. In the first half of 2025, the average days on market for homes priced above $1.5 million in Naples climbed to 104 days. That is more than triple Sarasota's figure, where comparable listings are lasting just 33 days before going under contract. The difference is not subtle. It is a sign of buyers gaining leverage and sellers having to wait, sometimes months, for the right offer to come along. Stellar MLS data paints a clear picture of this friction. In Naples, the list-to-sale price ratio has slipped to 91.2%. Sellers are conceding nearly 9% off their original asking price on average to close a deal. Sarasota, by contrast, is holding much closer to the mark. Homes there are selling at 98.4% of list price. For sellers, that means fewer painful negotiations. For buyers, it signals a market where urgency is still real and properties do not sit idle. These figures are not just background noise. They shape the experience for everyone in the market. In Naples, a home can now spend over 3 months on the market, with owners weighing price cuts, staging upgrades, or even pulling listings and relaunching later. The longer a property sits, the more likely it is to draw speculative offers or require incentives to move. In Sarasota, the window is much tighter, and sellers can expect a steady stream of interest without resorting to deep discounts. The gap in days on market and negotiation pressure is a warning sign for anyone tracking liquidity. Naples' luxury sellers are facing a slower, more buyer-driven environment, while Sarasota's market still rewards decisiveness. For homeowners, these numbers translate directly into carrying costs, stress, and the risk of being left behind as the market resets its expectations. Home ownership in Naples comes with a price tag that goes far beyond the initial purchase. Insurance premiums for waterfront properties routinely top $20,000 a year, with some policies now approaching $25,000 after recent hurricane seasons and updated risk models. Property taxes in Collier County average over $14,000 annually for luxury homes, and many gated communities add homeowners association dues ranging from $1,000 to $2,300 per month. These are not occasional spikes. They are recurring costs that hit every year, often rising faster than inflation. Owners also shoulder special assessments for storm repairs, flood mitigation, and infrastructure upgrades, with some communities issuing multiple assessments in a single year. Sarasota homeowners face their own Florida-sized bills, but the numbers tend to be less daunting. Typical insurance premiums for comparable homes land between $8,700 and $12,200 annually, and property taxes average around $6,000. Homeowners association fees in most neighborhoods run $450 to $850 per month, and special assessments are less frequent thanks to broader cost-sharing and newer infrastructure. For many, these differences add up to thousands of dollars saved each year, money that stays in the pockets of retirees and working families alike. Demographics shape who feels these pressures most. Naples' median age sits at 64.6 years, with more than a third of residents 65 and older, and nearly 38% of homes are second or seasonal residences. That means a heavy share of owners are retirees on fixed incomes, or part-timers who face the full brunt of high carrying costs, even if they only spend a few months in town. Sarasota median age is a much younger 47.3 years, and only about 15% of homes are second residences. With more year-round residents and a broader age mix, the burden of rising costs is spread wider, and the risk of a sudden outflow is lower when economic shocks hit. Flood risk is more than a line on a map in these markets. It is a financial filter. In Naples, flood insurance premiums now average 60% higher than the state's baseline, compared to 35% above average in Sarasota. That premium gap reflects concentrated coastal exposure. It is not just the water's edge that draws risk. In Collier County, more than one-third of all new building permits in 2024 were for homes valued over $1.5 million. Sarasota's share of high-dollar permits is much lower, just 12% topping the $1 million mark. This skew shows where developers are betting on luxury and where the market is more diversified. Months of supply figures add another layer. Naples' luxury condos reached 10.6 months of supply by mid-2025, while Sarasota's comparable segment held at 8.3 months. Crossing the 6-month threshold signals a buyer's market. Double digits suggest absorption is stalling. The pattern is clear in permit logs and project timelines. In February 2024, a Naples luxury condo development paused construction, citing financing delays and slower pre-sales. The developer refunded deposits, and the site remains idle, a rare but telling event for a city used to constant building. Each of these metrics, flood premium differentials, permit composition, months of supply, and project pauses, functions as a red flag. When risk clusters at the top end, the fallout is not just higher costs, it is a system where liquidity can evaporate quickly. Sarasota's broader permit base and lower exposure offer a degree of insulation, but even there, months of supply is creeping up. The warning signs are most pronounced in Naples, where every indicator now reads above the caution line. Florida's population surge isn't endless. Markets like Naples show how even the wealthiest enclaves can bleed residents when rising costs and demographic shifts collide. Sarasota's steady growth signals that value and adaptability outlast flash. As migration patterns keep reshaping the state, the real risk is mistaking yesterday's prestige for tomorrow's security. The future belongs to cities that earn their residents, not just their headlines. Which one would you choose?